Most people think they're struggling because they're not doing enough, not working hard enough, not disciplined enough, not consistent enough. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is this: you're executing a pattern that was designed to keep you exactly where you are. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let me show you. Every day looks almost the same. You wake up tired, you grab your phone, you scroll, you rush, you go to work, you answer emails, you deal with problems that aren't yours, you come home drained, you tell yourself tomorrow will be different. Then you repeat, not because you're lazy, not because you lack ambition, but because you're inside a loop that trains you to stay busy, stay tired, and stay dependent. Most people never notice this, they just call it life. But it's not random, it's patterned. And once you recognize the pattern, you realize something uncomfortable. You were never meant to escape by trying harder. You were meant to stay productive. Here's the first part of the pattern. You're taught from a young age that effort equals success. Study hard, work hard, be reliable, follow instructions, be grateful. They never teach ownership. They never teach leverage. They never teach asymmetry. They teach compliance. You're rewarded for showing up, not for thinking differently. You're praised for endurance, not for strategy. So your nervous system learns something early. Stability comes from obedience, and that belief follows you into adulthood. You don't ask how systems work, you ask how to survive inside them. That's phase one. Phase two happens when real life starts. Bills, rent, responsibility. Now you don't just work, you depend. Your income becomes tied to hours. Your freedom becomes tied to permission. Your future becomes tied to someone else's structure. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop building. You start maintaining. You're not moving forward. You're preserving your position. This is where most people get trapped. Because survival mode feels productive. You're busy. You're exhausted. You're doing your best. But nothing is compounding. Nothing is owned. Nothing is scalable. It's motion without momentum. Here's where the pattern tightens. The harder you try, the deeper you go. Because effort inside a closed system doesn't create escape, it creates efficiency. You become better at running in place. You get faster, smarter, more capable, but still contained. They don't block you, they train you. They reward you for becoming a better participant. That's the pattern. Think about it. If hard work alone created freedom, most adults would be wealthy. If discipline alone created leverage, most parents would be financially independent. If effort was the answer, burnout wouldn't exist, but it does, because effort without ownership just feeds the machine. You're not underpaid, you're properly placed. Here's the part nobody tells you. The system doesn't need to crush you, it just needs to keep you occupied. Tired people don't rebel. Busy people don't redesign their lives. Overstimulated people don't think clearly. They scroll, they cope, they repeat. That's why everything is built around distraction, notifications, content, entertainment, drama. It keeps your nervous system noisy. So you never zoom out, you never question the architecture, you just react. Once you see this, you realize something else. Your exhaustion isn't accidental, your anxiety isn't random. Your feeling of being behind isn't personal, it's structural. You're living inside an attention economy that profits from your fatigue, a labor economy that profits from your compliance, a consumer economy that profits from your insecurity. They don't want you powerful, they want you predictable. Now here's the part that changes everything. Most people think freedom is about money. It's not, it's about control. Control over your time, control over your output, control over your direction. If you don't own any leverage, you don't have control. You just have income. And income disappears the moment you stop showing up. That's not freedom, that's dependency. Look around. Most people trade decades of their life for temporary stability. They rent their energy, they sell their attention, they postpone their dreams, and they call it being responsible. But responsibility without sovereignty is just survival dressed up nicely. Here's another uncomfortable truth. You were trained to chase comfort. Comfort jobs, comfort routines, comfort entertainment. But comfort is the cage. Comfort keeps you small. Comfort keeps you quiet. Comfort makes you tolerate a life you secretly don't want. And the system loves that. Because comfortable people don't disrupt structures, they adapt to them. Once you see the pattern, you realize why motivation never lasts, why goals fade, why resolutions fail. You're trying to break free using the same tools that trapped you. More effort, more discipline, more grinding. But you don't escape systems with intensity. You escape with leverage. Leverage means building something once that pays you repeatedly. Leverage means separating income from hours. Leverage means owning distribution, owning audience, owning assets. It doesn't mean quitting your job tomorrow. It means quietly building exits while everyone else is busy surviving. That's how it actually works. And this is why most people never leave. Not because they can't, because they're too consumed. They're too busy paying bills to think strategically, too tired to learn new skills, too distracted to see the pattern. And the longer that goes on, the harder it becomes to imagine another way. That's not weakness, that's design. Let me say something clearly. You don't lack discipline, you lack control. You don't lack motivation, you lack leverage. You don't lack potential, you lack a system that compounds. That's the real problem. And once you understand this, your priorities change. You stop chasing raises, you start building assets, you stop optimizing productivity, you start designing exits, you stop asking how to work harder, you ask how to make effort irrelevant. And this is why I talk about systems, not hustle, not motivation. Systems. Because systems outlive emotion. Systems compound. Systems create freedom quietly while everyone else is arguing online. Here's what escaping actually looks like. You build something small on the side, content, products, skills, audience. You reinvest time instead of spending it. You learn how attention flows. You learn how money moves. You stop consuming and start constructing. Not loudly, not dramatically, silently, consistently. That's how leverage is built. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first because it requires delayed gratification. It requires long-term thinking. It requires being misunderstood, but that's the price of sovereignty. If this is making sense, here's your first real step. Stop asking how to get ahead inside the system. Start asking how to build outside of it. That shift alone puts you ahead of 95% of people. Halfway through this video, I want to tell you something important. If you're ready to stop guessing and start understanding how money, attention, and leverage actually work, I built something for that. It's called the Money Logic Playbook. It breaks down exactly what I'm talking about here. Not theory, real frameworks, real structure, real next steps. It's linked in the description. If this message resonates, start there. Now let's go deeper. Once you see the pattern, you also notice something else. Most advice online keeps you trapped. Work harder. Stay positive. Wake up earlier. None of that changes your position. It just helps you tolerate it better. Real change requires redesign. People don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they never change their operating system. They try to upgrade results without upgrading structure. That never works. Here's the final layer of the pattern. The system gives you just enough hope to keep going. Promotions, raises, small wins, just enough to prevent rebellion. Not enough to create freedom. That's intentional. You're kept in a permanent state of almost successful, almost free, almost there. That's the trap. Once you see this, you stop romanticizing struggle. You stop glorifying hustle. You stop worshiping effort. You start building quietly. You start thinking long. You start moving differently. This is why your life feels repetitive. Same weeks, same problems, same stress, same conversations. It's not because you're boring. It's because you're inside a closed loop, and loops don't break themselves. You break them by creating a symmetry. You invest in skills at scale. You build digital assets. You create leverage while others scroll. You use nights and weekends to design exits. Not party, not cope. Build. Let me be direct. Nobody is coming to save you. No policy, no boss, no government. Freedom is constructed, not granted. You don't need permission. You need ownership. You don't need motivation. You need systems. You don't need more effort. You need leverage. Once you see the pattern, everything changes. You stop reacting, you start designing, you stop consuming, you start building, you stop waiting, you start moving. And here's the quiet truth. Most people will never do this. They'll stay inside the loop. Not because they're incapable, because it's easier, and that's fine, but if you're watching this, you already feel it. That pull, that awareness, that sense that something about your current life doesn't add up. That's not random. That's your signal. So don't ignore it. Use it. Build something. Learn leverage. Create assets. Exit slowly. And one day you'll realize you're no longer inside the pattern, you're outside it. If this helped you see something new, subscribe. And if you're ready to actually act on it, the Money Logic Playbook is in the description. That's where the real work begins.